Welcome back to RTH Gaming's 50 Favorite Games 2019 edition.
So we're going to go through numbers 50 through 41.
Oh, this is going to be a roller coaster, folks. For RTH Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Lucas. And let's go ahead and get started. My bottom 10 here, however you want to look at it, nothing increased in rank except for the two on the list that are new to list. Everything else is a drop from a previous position. And my number 50 is the biggest drop in this segment. It fell 23 spaces to number 50, just made it onto the list, and that's Colbert, the Great Card Game.
Okay.
Chip has struggled for years getting me involved with a train game. And really, I like Ticket to Ride. It's fine, but this is the one that interests me the most, and probably because it is essentially at its heart a worker placement game. Those workers are cards that you have, and you're going out getting coal to load your trains up, ship them off, and fill contracts. It's all very Euro-y, but I enjoy the package that it puts together, and I enjoy that it doesn't have the worker placement blocking mechanism. If I put one worker there, you can still come there, but you have to put two workers there. And the cards have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 values based on how many player counts you're playing, and you don't get changed, so you've got to kind of be careful. If you use your big ones, you may not be able to be as efficient as you want to be. But all of those pieces work together really well for an enjoyable experience. I don't know if it'll stay on the list because it fell so far this year, but I do really enjoy Colbert and the Great Card Game.
I really like that game. The thing with that, too, is that we haven't really got it to the table this year. It was, I remember playing it from the previous one, and it was a great game, and I love that game, too. But, yeah, we just don't get it to the table enough.
Yep.
Well, for my number 50, this one actually surprised me. There's a lot of them that dropped lower in the rankings that really just blew my mind, and this one was one of them, and it's Azul. I really like Azul. I like the abstract and the pretty mosaic tiles, and you're pulling those tiles in order to build a pattern on your character or on your sheet. It's very cool, very relaxing, very puzzly, very thinky, and I love all those attributes of a game. But it fell down with all the new games that we played because I know that you had mentioned once before, we've kind of hit this golden age of gaming, and there's more and more that are coming out. And once you've experienced all these new games, new versions, new theories, new themes, some of the other ones kind of fall to the wayside, and that's what's happened with Azul. I do love that game, but it fell to number 50.
I can't hold it against you. With Pandemic falling off my list, it's an open ballgame, folks. Mine, first of all, I want to give an honorable mention because we just recently played a game that I'd already made my list, so everything was kind of finalized.
Right.
But Dinosaur Island is an awesome game, and I'm going to just save this video because next year my prediction is that Dinosaur Island will be on my list. So, but my number 50 is a game that's going to have a resurgence this year, actually, and it's Suburbia.
Yes,
they're coming out with. I think, is it the 10th anniversary already? Or
I think it's just deluxe edition. I don't know if we're 10 years in, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm a big SimCity fan from way back, right? And so Suburbia gives me that kind of feel. I'm building up my little city and putting different residents next to different commercial buildings and things, and it's a point salad trying to figure out how to manage your city. I try to imagine that city planners have much the same feelings as I do when I play this game. But the new version, this golden age of gaming that we're in, the new version is coming out with what I think is the most clever little not dice tray. There's no dice, but little box insert tray thing that is going to hold all of the tiles, and in the game the marketplace, if you will, you're going to lay out a number of tiles along the values that you have to pay for them, the cost. This, I think it's I don't want to say who's the manufacturer, I'm not quite sure, but it's one of these molded plastic insert things that is like a little track that you can move and they'll slide along.
So it's like a chute.
It's like a chute, yeah. But it has like this little tower where the whole stack sits, and so you're kind of, pulling them out, and they're running down the track. So I'm really excited about that. If you can't tell, I will probably rush out and get that once it hits the shelf. Suburbia is my number 50.
I really like that game, so I'm excited that it's getting I don't know necessarily a reskinning, but at least it's hey, we're gonna soup this up a bit.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for the word deluxe edition, so I mean that's going to be our number 50s.
So at 49, I have another one which surprisingly has fallen down the list a bit, and it's one that's it hasn't come to the table enough, and that's the Duke. If I had to choose a game that would be like chess, the Duke is where I'd go. It's just awesome. You have the tiles. You're the Duke, and you have the starter placement of tiles. But to get more, to build your army on your side of the board, you're pulling from a bag, right? So you have no idea what you're going to get. And I believe you told me once that the same thing that's in my bag is in his bag,
yes,
right?
That's correct.
So it's just the randomness of what you pull. He may pull a bishop and I pull an archer. And now, we've got to deal with that.
Yeah.
And as you make your moves and you attack the other side, you flip that tile and now the movement's different.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. It's not the same boring, rook to, E5 or whatever it is. It's something that you have to get engrossed in, and you have to know the board, and you have to anticipate when I do this and it flips, then what's that next thing gonna be? So I really love the Duke. It has fallen a bit down to 49.
Yep. For me, the Duke is one of the first experiences I ever had with what I like to call the artistic abstracts. So, back in the day, abstracts like chess or Go or, those, I mean, to look at them, now granted, there are beautiful chess sets and there's a beauty in the simplicity of the Go board and the pieces. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a grid and it's got some pieces and things like that. But the Duke, really, it hit a tone for me of theme even for an abstract, because the wooden pieces, the board looks sort of parchment-y or things like that. And I thought that at the time when I first got it, we were doing a lot of camping with the scouts and things like that. And I thought, man, this would be really neat to make like a leather playboard that may hold up to the weather a little bit more. We could take it out on campouts and play it. So the actual composition of the pieces almost lended a theme to me in this, what is, a straightforward abstract game. But yeah, and I love the movement, flip the tile, now the movement is different for this next move, right? So that's really cool.
I like how much is going on at the same time that you get to consider. Because you're going to move this guy according to the instructions on his tile, like you said, and flip him. And now he changes. And you've got to consider all of that in the action that you're taking. Yeah, I enjoy the Duke as well.
Well, my 49 will be a game that I'm sure this one fell from my list. I don't actually have the numbers of how far mine fell, but still a favorite of mine, a great game, Vinius Deluxe Edition. Now, I like wine. I think we all do here. Well, maybe not Lucas, but I like wine games. The idea of running a vineyard and things like that. There's enough economic in this game to really turn me on. And it's also parts all over the board. There's a lot of fiddly stuff that just is in my wheelhouse. I like the more stuff you can pack into your game. I like it. So Vinius, you're trying to of the two winemaking games that are most well known, Vinius and Viticulture. In Vinius, you've got more sort of a global outlook of the wine industry, right? You are not only running your vineyards, building your vineyards, processing the wine, but then you're also trying to ship to markets and earn money while also going to the fair and getting your wine graded and things like that. So there is a lot of stuff going on in this game. Viticulture is more your focus just on your vineyard, making and running that. So for me, Vinius, I like that global kind of top-down view, and that'll be my number 49.
With Vinius, It is a lot more complex because, you do have to look at exports and imports in the vineyards and such. The one thing that's very unique about Vinius, I think, is the square in the center, and that's where you choose the actions that you're going to go. And there's a lot of rules about, you can only move to certain spaces. And with everything else that's going on with the industry, the key to the whole game is that one block. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like Vinius quite a bit, actually. I think the best thing it brought to me was introducing me to Vital Lacerda.
Yeah.
And so that's the best thing I take out of there. And not to denigrate that game. My number 49 is one that we haven't actually gotten to play in the last couple of years, but it only fell 6 spaces, and that's Shakespeare.
Oh wow!
To me, it's a really fulfilling, I would say, probably light Euro. Where you've got your actors and you're costuming them and getting ready to put on a play, and you rehearse through the acts and then do your performance. It's all about getting points. It's all about these little combos with the various costume pieces and whatnot. And you've got a stage, which is your player board that you're filling out with the little tiles, and there's rules on how those have to go in. Everything is a neat little light puzzle that you can play in about a half an hour. And, it's about putting on a Shakespearean play, which for whatever reason appeals to me thematically. So I really enjoy playing Shakespeare. That's my 49.
I know that when we first got that game, we first learned it, we played it like 7 times in a row. We just couldn't get enough, and we wanted to see, what other combinations could lead to the victory. It's a very good game.
Yeah, you guys have to introduce me to this one. I still want to play it.
That's our number 49.
Number 48, and it's the game that teaches Lucas that he doesn't know how to learn his lesson. My number 48 is...
Oh my God, a piece of garbage.
Ziya, Legends of a Drift System. We're talking about sandbox...
You're already starting.
We're talking about sandbox games, and I'm a sci-fi junkie, so Ziya gives me that. Granted, it's got kind of a roll and move mechanic, and, sometimes you just fly into an asteroid and kill yourself.
3 times.
Like I said, he didn't learn his lesson. I do like this game. Because it's got a lot of things that I just naturally gravitate toward. No pun intended. It has a hex map. I love them. It's a sci-fi theme. Instantly interested. And it's got a sandbox feel. I can be a smuggler. I can go do missions. I can become the galactic sheriff, and if you're being a pirate, I can go and get you and get a bounty on you. So it's got a lot of things that you can decide what you want to do when you're playing, and I can appreciate that. It's got modification of your ship, fitting it out into different with different components, things like that. So everything just kind of falls in place with me. I do enjoy the game, even though Lucas hates it because he ran into an asteroid 3 times.
To put in my 2 cents, I enjoy Ziya. But
2-1.
Hold on. But when I play Ziya, I'm going into the game fully knowing this is going to be completely random, and crazy stuff is going to happen, and just roll with the punches.
That's right. You have to.
So, I don't take the game too seriously. I just let it be. And so, if you do that, if you're trying to play it serious, then
and it has metal coins. Lucas, you love metal coins.
When you have to spend as much time as the two of you just did justifying a piece of garbage, that tells you everything you need to know about it right there.
He's wrong.
So, I managed to roll 3 ones in a row and blow up 3 times on a D20, right? So if you can have the inverse of luck, you're almost halfway to winning the game. So why don't we all just roll a D20 until somebody rolls the appropriate number of 20s and then do something else? That's all this game is.
That wouldn't be trash. A fun game. But
neither is this one.
It's fun.
Neither is this one.
It's
He's
not
wrong.
bad.
All right, so I'm going to move on to one that I know they can't argue with. It is a game that I was introduced to in the last 30 days, and we've already played it 9 times. It is not at all my kind of game because I have very little patience for party games, but I loved this one. It's new to the list. That's Just One.
Yeah,
this is a brilliant design that has been an amazing hit with our group. Contrary to the trash he's trying to throw, he loves it and he knows it.
I love it, yep.
This game went over so well, and we played it so many times. Even our 2 children were able to get in on it. It is a good game for everybody. It's fun. You're basically you're given a word off of a card, and you're trying to give another player a one-word hint that will make them think of the word that's on your card. And they can answer with one word, and it has to be that word, or you miss the point. It just works. I don't know what else I can say about it. If you haven't tried it, I would strongly suggest just one.
Yeah, I completely love that game. And what's really funny is you kind of get to know your gaming group even better because, something like, say the word is, I don't know, president, right? So your first thought may be, Washington or, whatever. And then they just don't get it. They don't see it.
Yeah,
which
it's harder than it seems when it's your turn to pick.
To you, it's like, this is clear as day, clear as crystal, and they just don't see it. It's amazing the different thought patterns that people have to get to the same word.
Yep. This is a perfect game to take to family that aren't gamers, right?
Yeah.
It's very simple to teach. The idea and the mechanics to play it are very simple, but it's so engaging because everybody is always doing something. And I mean, I think the box says like maybe 6 players or 7 players, maybe even. This could very, very easily be teamed up. So if you have
it's 8 because we had at full count we were at 7 and we still had
a couple of little thingies. Yeah. But if you had like a super large group, you could easily just make teams and say, okay, this is how we're gonna play that. So fun and I really hope we could see an expansion of this game. Maybe an extra card pack, just more options. You could always just make your own.
That's true.
You're just going to take a card and write 6 words on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But yeah, really cool game.
Well, for what number are we on? 48. Okay, so for my number 48, it is new to the list. There is a type of game that I don't get to play that often, and it's only because Lucas isn't as fond of this type as I am, and that's trick-taking. So for my number 48, it's new to my list, and it is The Fox in the Forest.
Yes.
I do love this game. I love trick-takings in general. I was raised, some of the first games that I, were raised with, my mom taught me was spades, right? And I just love that whole trying to figure out how to use what I have and trying to think, okay, so if I have this and that means they have that. With Fox in the Forest, number one, it's beautiful art, beautiful pictures, and some of the cards, the odd numbered cards, they have special powers. So not only are you trying to get the trump, but you also, get this extra little bit if you use it.
Yeah.
The whole thing is very engaging, and I know that we did something. We did
we did a quick video to play.
A quick video through it, so it's very enjoyable. So if you like trick taking and you want beautiful art, then I suggest The Fox in the Forest.
This game has also for trick taking, for people who are familiar with trick taking games, this has an interesting scoring mechanic.
Yes, it does,
because you have a table. If you just sweep it and get everything, you're not going to get any points. Right? Or wait, I could be wrong. Maybe that's
it's mid-grade, right? So you have if you go low, if you go nil, right, then you're going to get some really good points. But you're forcing them to go high, which means there's less points for them. So the harder the combination of the score, the higher points you get for in-game.
Yeah, and there's this window where you're like trying to completely avoid it because it's 0 points.
Right, there's a sweet spot, and then it's just nothing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and that's so cool. I've never found a trick taking game that did that.
Right, because really you say I need 7. Let's just put that. I need 7, so I need to lose, and you're deliberately losing. 4 tricks so that you can get to that sweet spot. But he's trying to get to the same spot too. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's really neat. Great game.
And that's going to be our number 48. To kick off number 47, I've got 7 Wonders Duel. I enjoy the base 7 Wonders, but I liked the puzzle that this one added. There's a disconnect for me thematically, and if you've heard me talk about these two games, you've heard this before, but in base 7 Wonders, unless you're playing with 7 people, you're not building 7 Wonders. I don't know why, that just irritates me. But in Seven Wonders Duel, there are 7 wonders that you're competitively trying to build. But the new technologies and things that come out, that you build a pyramid of cards, and only what is completely free, not having another card on top of it, is visible to you, and you're uncovering this pyramid as you go. It's really neat mechanic, and it adds to the puzzle there. And they also figured out an interesting way to do the military conquest, in that you can actually win or lose the game based on a separate military track.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I've only played the base version of it. I know there's an expansion for it, but I haven't played. But I enjoy Seven Wonders Duel. I think it's a nice, tight little 2-player puzzle game that, has a theme I really enjoy. So that's why it's on my list at number 47.
Seven Wonders isn't really a game that I enjoyed that much, but I will say that of the two, Duel is my favorite of the two, especially that pyramid tableau. I really enjoy that piece of it. I think the only hang up that I have that from the old game that I miss is that whole leaders, the leaders cards.
Yeah.
So if they could find a way, and I don't know if it's in the expansion that they did for it, to add those leaders back, then maybe I'd enjoy it a little bit more, make it more well-rounded for me. Yeah.
I like the spider solitaire layout of the cards. But from what you said, I dig the track of military and the inventions.
Science.
Science discoveries or whatever there. But the military, it's a sliding scale, right?
Yep.
So comes close to me, comes close to you, and we battle it back and forth. And so, you really can't set yourself up to say, I'm just going to ignore military. Right. If you do that, your opponent will creep it up, and they'll win flat out. Just bing, bang, I win. So you always got to kind of manage that. And that's good, because that keeps you from running off on other areas. I think they put a lot of thought into that you can't just go in one direction. You have to kind of juggle a few different things. But the play is real quick, and it's very replayable. So really cool game.
Well, for my number 47, it's a game that I absolutely adore. I love the art on it, and it's Historio. Historio is, you're putting on a play, much like with Shakespeare, except for it's more of a cartoony art. You have you have these hot air balloons, and you're going to these different cities in order to hire players for your play. You're putting on a play for the king, but the king is fickle. Sometimes, his mood is shifting throughout the entire game. Does he want a comedy? Does he want a tragedy? So you gotta have to prepare for either one, or you have to set yourself up to where you're influencing his mood a little bit so that you can prep for a tragedy. I just, and the cards themselves, some of them have the, variable player powers on them. So having that particular card, you can help influence or more easily get those acrobats or tragedians. It's beautiful. I mean, that is one of my favorite art in board games, is the art that is in Historia. It has fallen a little bit from where it was before, but it's still a game I treasure.
Yeah. Chip hadn't played this one, but I actually think he'll like it, because there's this interesting area of control where you're going to the different cities to collect them. And, you may choose the exact same thing as somebody else does, whereas in that case you kind of butt heads and don't get it. But that dirigible or whatever they are has been placed, and so you can't use that one again for some period of time. So I think Chip would enjoy it.
It sounds cool.
And touching on the art in this one is a little cartoony and anthropomorphic, but it is stunning. So visually really cool.
Very nice. Well, my number 47 is going to be what has become a classic smaller game, Century Spice Road. We were introduced to this one when it first came out, and really took off. We had been playing a lot of Splendor, and I know that this game is sometimes referred to as Splendor Killer or a Splendor alternative. I do really enjoy it, though. You are a trader in the Mediterranean or something, to that. A trader in the desert, I guess. Manipulating different spices to gain other spices, and it's kind of one of those start with basic components, upgrade them up to rare components, and then go sell them, collect points. And so fast play. So, as I said, small card game. a small footprint. Easy to play. The rules are easy, and it's one of those games that's really great. We were talking about this not too long ago, where we used to play the same game over and over and over again, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to now, recently, we've been playing, one game after the other in sequence. This is a really great game just to take somewhere that you got a few hours and play it 5 or 6 times in a row. It's different every time with the layout of the cards, and so and the play is so quick that it's almost just like playing a card game, a hand of cards, and then you can play again. So I really, really enjoy Century Spice Road.
And that's another one where the art is really, really pretty. And everything, your whole gameplay, it really is an engine building type thing too, but with a very nice theme that bleeds through. But, you're purchasing merchants to get certain spices and to do that, and you need those spices in order to get, it's just a constant one after the other, and you're trying to build your engine. I really enjoy that game too.
I agree. That's going to be our number 47.
So here we are at 46. And this is another one that surprised the heck out of me. It dropped 38 slots.
Nice.
But it's still a game I really love, and that's Dead of Winter. Mm-hmm. This is a game to where you're a survivor and you're in a safe spot. You're in a compound, but, it doesn't have everything you need. You need medicine. You need weapons. You need food. So you have to leave the compound where the, zombies are always encroaching upon, and you have to hit these isolated locations, be it the school or the police station or the grocery store, and try and find stuff to keep on living. As you go out, though, that's more dangerous because the zombies might hear you and then, converge. So, you have to roll this dice, and you can get, it could be all quiet, which is awesome. You can get frostbit, which means you need some medicine quickly, or you can get outright bit and then, you're dead. So it's an amazing game of everyone coming together for, max survival.
Yep.
There is a potential traitor element in it, which may or may not come up. But all in all, I think it grabs that whole zombie theme more Walking Dead style than the old school, Shaun of the Dead bit. And it's just I just love it, especially with the crossroad cards, because you get to make those decisions. So that's my number 46, Dead of Winter.
Now, this is a game that I had the same experience that Lucas had playing Ziya. Yet I still like this game. I remember the first time we played it. We don't come to a game maybe being experts at these rules. We cover the rules, we get a general feel for them, and then we start playing. And just as questions come up, we'll refer back to the rule book, right? So we're playing this thing, and my very first turn, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gas station and see what I can find. Roll it, bit, dead. And I'm looking at everybody else going,
is the game over?
Am I out of the game?
Yeah.
What just happened, right? Because it was very clear. You get bit, you're dead, period. We're done. Come to find out, no, I just pick another character and we continue on. But that was helpful. But I like the game, but it is hard. It will get on you quick, and there are some moments where you're just going to die, including the crossroad cards. We found one where
one boy has a heart attack and dies.
You just weren't living a good life, and you have a heart attack. Sometimes things like that happen. So
health is very important.
Yes, but it is a really great game. Now we don't play with the traders much. For us, our gaming group just aren't really into that unless it's Shadows of Camelot. But we take that out. But the crossroad cards are really cool. The variety of survivors that you could pick from is really neat as well, including the Santa Claus hobo, and I think you can play a wonder dog or something.
Yes.
Really cool game.
I think this one is presently suffering from an internal discussion in our group about the value of the personal goals. goals.
Yes.
You know, the trader is one thing, and it is what it is, but everybody having their own separate goals is, in my opinion, an artificial mechanic to make you think everyone else is a trader. And I think the game is hard enough and fulfilling enough when you're successful, or even when you're not, you're having a great time, without those personal goals, and you still would have the possibility of that trader. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't be everybody might be actively working against what we need to do right now so that they can fulfill their personal goal. I think that's why that one's slipping, probably on all our lists.
Or maybe it's, that's how they try to hide who the real trader is by making,
Well, that person needs to be more clever.
And I was not.
Number 46 for me is Jolene's favorite, as Ziya is to Lucas. Food chain magnate.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. She's still mad at me because she was trying to take a monopoly of lemonade stands, and I encroached and raised the price, or dropped the price on her.
It was crazy.
Flooded the market with lemonade.
Horrid.
This is a Euro game for Euro game players. Well, I'm going to say it's not pretty. Now, some will argue with me and say that I like the diner the aesthetic of diner art fits the theme, and I agree to a large part. There are some bland elements to this game. However, for me, the game mechanics, the game system is not bland at all. You are organizing your franchise corporation of employees and different staff. Each staff has different abilities that will allow you to do things. You are managing locations around the map where you're going to put your restaurants, and what products you're going to sell: burgers, lemonade, and beer, and I'm forgetting other stuff. But and it's a logistical operation, managing price so that people will buy it from you, advertising so that you gain more customers, and things like that. And so I like economic board games, and this one has that in spades. And so it's a favorite of mine. Now, it probably is a bit difficult to get your hands on. It's from a very small publisher in France. But if you can, or if you get an opportunity to go to a convention that has it in their library, absolutely try it out. The rules are a little bit cumbersome to get a handle on, but once you do, the game progresses at a pretty good clip. So, and it's scalable. If I remember correctly, it is scalable. So if you want to play a bigger game, you can expand the map. If you want to play a smaller game, you can minimize, or maybe that's player count, and I'm just not remembering. But I do have fun with Food Chain Magnate. I think Lucas does too. Jolene won't have too many good things to say about it.
You want to go?
I was just going to kind of echo what he said there. I do enjoy it. I like the puzzle of building your corporation. I think Joe's problem is the level of ability to jack with your opponents and what they're doing, right? I think she wants to build her own little empire and do her thing, right? And if you're letting other people do that, and because we did this in our first game, I had built up one of the food types, just I was the monopoly on that, and it very rapidly I was just pulling in a crazy amount of money on that, because you just can't let that happen in this game. But I think that's what it's simulating, right? That real world competition for the market and for the consumer to buy your product. And I think it's just a little too interactive for Joe.
And I should add, because I know the comments are coming, what did y'all just talk about Western Legends? I'm going to draw a distinction here that you're actually competing in the same market against the player that is, quote, in the lead. Whereas in Western Legends, you're dogging on somebody that is, you're not becoming a miner because the miner is in the lead. You're just beating the miner down and stealing what he has. Right. That's the distinction I draw there to head off some comments.
From Western Legends that we talked about in the prelude. Yeah. My thing with Food Chain Magnate, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It's okay. So I don't mind take that. As long as you have to, I don't know. There's a difference between take that and being downright just nasty mean. And to me, with the whole lemonade debacle, with that one, there are certain games where I just want to build. And yes, you can put up barriers so to make it to where the build is more difficult or costs me more. But in Food Chain Magnate, he literally, in just a few turns, completely obliterated any value that I had created and spent, rounds upon rounds upon rounds to build. He literally destroyed it.
Yeah, I cost code you. I came.
He did. He completely Walmart me. And there was no recovery from that. And I think that's why the fact that someone has that ability to go in and completely destroy. I mean, not even like with 51st State, you can break a piece of the engine, and they can rebuild that piece. It may take them a couple of rounds, but they can rebuild that piece and then, continue on or change their strategy. But with Food Chain Magnate, it takes so much to build where you are to have it completely annihilated. You're done, and then you just don't want to play anymore. Right? Yeah. Right? I was completely thing, right? It's a negative experience that, as a whole, I can't dig myself out of. So halfway through the game, and it's not a short game. We played 3 players, and it's several hours. So halfway through the game, I was done. And I'm not the type of person that'll get up and leave the table. So I kind of just went, okay. And I basically built a new one completely. I ignored lemonade at that point and went to pizza or something. But I was so far behind at that point because I had to start over halfway through the game.
And for all you people giving her sympathy, she got back at me at Grand Austria Hotel.
I sure did.
She rode him in the game.
So let me tell you, this is tit for tat here.
We laughed, but I didn't break his engine. I just passed.
You broke my spirit. Break my engine? No, you broke my spirit. No. But yeah, Food Chain Magnate. That's my number 46.
And they got all heavy and combative there. I'm going to talk about one that's combative, but it ain't heavy at all. It's as lighthearted as you can be. Number 46 for me, Rum and Bones.
Okay.
You got some pirates. I got some pirates. And we are swinging onto each other's ships and just wreaking havoc. And that is really what the game is.
Yep.
They put out a second edition of it, which allowed you to more customize the abilities and kind of level up your guys as you play along, which was a really cool addition and added a little bit of depth. But this is a throw dice, kill things, have a great time kind of game, and that's what I like about it. Cool Mini or Not's Rum and Bones, so it's got great figures. That's my number 46.
I still need to play this.
You do. You need to play it. The best piece for me, my favorite part, is the fact that, there are so many different factions. You could play the French pirates, you can play the Asian pirates, it's pirate on pirate, right? So everyone's a bad guy. But you can play your own type. I love that game.
Very cool. Those are our number 46s. More than halfway through this segment, and here we are with the game, my favorite game to play with friends that you really like, because you're going to be playing it for 11 hours straight. It's Twilight Imperium. My experience is only with the 3rd edition, and I would put 4th edition on the table if I could find people to play it with. As stated before, I like sci-fi, and I like hex maps, and I like fiddly bits. This has all of that. It also is one of these grand conquest games that I'm used to playing from my childhood. Risk and Centurion, Defender of Rome, and these games where a grand war game. Okay, I enjoy that, and I'm willing to sit there and play for a number of hours at a time with people that I like. So. Everybody knows this game, and everybody either has very strong opinions of it. Mine are positive. Now, I understand that the 4th edition did a bit of streamlining, which is probably a good thing. Like I said, my experience with 3rd edition, it is a rather long game, and especially it's one of these where you have you're trying to reach a certain amount of victory points by completing certain objectives or milestones. If you have a table full of people that aren't really focused on completing those milestones, it's going to be an 11-hour game.
Yeah.
If you had a group of people that were like hardcore about doing it, you're probably looking at maybe 2.5, 3 hours, maybe 4 to get it all, depending on whether they know how to play the game, to get it done. It is what it is. If you like grand strategy, you probably like this game. If you don't like longer games, probably not the one for you. But Twilight Imperium, 3rd edition or 4th edition, is one of my very favorites.
11 hours.
Yeah. We had a good meal.
We did. We had a great meal. Okay. Twilight Imperium, there's just 2 key things. It's not one of my favorite games. It's not one that I'll ask to play. The 3rd edition. And here's the reason why. Number 1, 11 hours. But number 2, I think it's even more so, is I'm really not a 4X player. 3X, I can do that all day long. It's the 4X. It's the fact that, I can get annihilated on my home planet, and then for the next 4 hours...
One time this happened.
We only played it one time. Okay, so, and the game is still continuing. I'm out, right? So for the next, 3.5 hours, I'm just sitting at the table watching the remaining drama unfold. And, that's not fun for me, especially since I'd already invested.
I don't think you were out. I just think it really marginalized you.
I had no home planet.
I get that, and I don't remember how it went down. I don't remember that you were out, though.
I had a ship, but I couldn't, make more.
Yeah, you probably couldn't do a whole lot.
I was praying for someone just to blow me out of the sky.
I actually agree with both of them. I think it's a really well-designed game. We're talking about the 3rd edition. I would give the 4th edition a try based solely on the premise of there being streamlining. And maybe a more concerted effort to be advancing the game, because like you said, if nobody's trying to win, it's just going to go on forever.
You get caught in the minutia.
Well, and that could have been my bad too, because when we played our playthrough, our day-long play session, none of us at the table knew how to play this game. I had read the rules previously and watched videos of how to play, and I was teaching the game to... we had 8 people, didn't we?
A lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah, I think 8 people were playing this game. So it could have been my bad of not realizing how important it was to drill home the idea that you need to get after these objectives, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't, and there for a while we were just like, we were building, we were going exploring, we were taking over planets, and it was cool. And then boundaries were formed, and now it's the war, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe that was my bad, but yeah, I get where you're going with that.
I do think it is that epic space adventure, more on the political expand exploit side than the swashbuckling, like a Star Wars thing. I think if you're into that, I think you should give it a try. Maybe try to find a game where you're the new guy and everybody else knows it. Understand you might get destroyed because that's the case, but just as a learning game for you, we were a table full of new people learning it. I do see the great game in there. I just wish it was more compact and streamlined. That's really my only complaint with it, and maybe the 4th edition helps with that. I don't know. But I'm going to go from crazy epic, ridiculous scope to a much more narrow one, and that's Dice Masters for me. Coming in at number 45 on my list, I enjoy this game a lot. It gives me the same feeling that I would get from playing a game like Magic the Gathering. But we tend to play mostly the superhero version of Dice Masters. The thing's a little better there for me. Though I would argue that I believe the D&D set is actually the better game. But we don't play that one as much. I just like it. And it's something that was the first time I had pulled my hand into a bag and pulled something out. We would later do that kind of bag thing with other games that I also enjoyed. I figured out I really, really liked that. But... there's so many characters and so much content for this game. You could go buy you some and buy a ton of it, or just buy a little of it and build with what you have. So much possibility in a quick, fun dice game. I really enjoy it. Dice Masters 45.
And what I like too about that is like, yes, you can be, you know, the heroes and stuff, and I can build Hydra, you know, and I can, you know, I'm not forced to, you know, I'm just, you know, superheroes. I could be the supervillain, so that was fun.
Yeah, and I mean, all jokes aside about mixing, you know, a red dragon with Iron Man, but you don't have to play that way.
Sure,
if you choose not to. Sure. This game for me is having kind of a resurgence because we first discovered this one as a dice game, you know, the dice deck building game, and we played quite a bit of it and really enjoyed it. Then along came the Star Wars variant,
Destiny. Very different game.
Yeah, it is a very different game, and that kind of was a flash in the pan for us. But lately, I've been thinking about Dice Masters and going, man, I really want to go back to playing that because there's a draw to me about it. Just the way they played it, it's more of your team and my team, and we're battling. I like the implementation that Dice Masters approached the deck building with dice genre, right? Really cool. And I need to check out more of the Dungeons and Dragons
I like the
side
Dungeons
of it.
and Dragons.
Yeah.
It's not as much content for it, but
yeah, I think there were only 2 sets.
Yeah.
Unless there's been more recently, because that's one kind of like your LCGs, man.
Yeah,
they kick out the sets for this thing.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
Is it me?
Yep.
Okay. 45. Okay, so for my number 45, is one that I've spoken about before on other lists, and this is the Manhattan Project Energy Empire. Great game. Now I've only played it 2-player. I really want to try it with more than 2. But basically, it's nation versus nation, and you're trying to build the best energy empire. And your nation gives you some starting resources and kind of gives you a direction on how to play. And everything is based on energy. Well, energy is based on the type of dice you roll, be it coal, oil, nuclear. You roll these dice, it gives you the energy so you can put out your workers. There's just so many tidbits to this engine of a game that all work well together and affect each other. And I just really enjoy it. And that's Manhattan Project Energy Empire.
Got to try that one too.
Yes, you do.
Another great game. Mm-hmm. That's going to be our number 45. On to number 44, we've got a game that we discussed in the Prelude episode. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. But it only fell 2 spaces for me, even though it fell completely off someone else's list. And that's Eric Lang's Chaos in the Old World.
There you go.
I do really enjoy this game. You know, I think it suffers from lack of availability. Mm-hmm. I think it suffers from high interactivity, and which is probably why it's lower. But I found it really compelling, right? Because the story, if you're not familiar with the old Warhammer world, the 4 Chaos gods didn't necessarily get along. Mm-hmm. And basically what they're trying to do here, you take on the role of one of those gods, or if you have the expansion, maybe one of you is the Horned Rat, which is kind of the stepchild Chaos god. You're trying to ruin the world better than the other guys, which may seem ridiculous, but that does seem to be the motivation a lot of times of Chaos. And, you know, each faction works differently. I only got to play with Nurgle, which is my faction of choice in the Chaos arena, and I enjoyed the way they played, but I would like to try the other factions. Man, this is a neat little package. I can see how this game, as a predecessor to some of Eric Lang's later games, may, kind of influenced the way he designs and the things he adds into other games. But I really enjoy it. I think it may be hard to get, but if you have an opportunity to get in on a game of it, maybe at a convention or something like that, try it out. Chaos in the Old World, my number 44.
And I just want to point out, this one did fall off my list, but I still love it much.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason why I think is because the gods are so asymmetrical. Because, you have Khorne, which that's brute force in battle.
And if you don't play to those strengths, you lose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you have the Horned Rat. And that's hoarding. I mean, there's a ton of rats that are coming at you, right? And you've got to, hold back the tide. Zinch is more, the magic and the swab, it's more finesse. So, there's a god almost for every type of style play that you might, enjoy. But then getting out of that comfort zone and trying something new, there's an exciting game no matter which Chaos God you choose. And so I really do like that one.
Yeah. If you've ever watched A Christmas Story,
I love that movie.
Corn is the bully that is walking around, and Skaven are the little toady that follows him, because we all know that Sigmar is the 5th Chaos God. But, this game is really cool, and I recommend it for folks. The theme and the artwork maybe is a little bit too heavy for certain viewers, certain ages or whatever. Your mileage may vary on that.
Sure.
Make your own decisions, make your own choices. But if you can handle that kind of thing, then this game is really cool at its core.
Instead of saving the realms, it's just the other side of the coin.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yep.
There you go.
Very cool.
All right, so 44. So, my number 44 is a game that I've talked about before. It has fallen a little bit, about 17 spots. But I am a champion for it, and that is Rail Raiders Infinite. Okay, absolutely love this game. So, you are basically these little chibi criminal cowboys. And the board is all these different rail cars, and you are robbing a train. So you're using poker dice to get a good hand in order to jump on that train, to get that loot, to fight off the good guys so you can get said loot. And you're making your way to the engine of the train. So it's just dice chucking fun. There's not really strategy to it. It's all, Amerithrash. So, it's tons of fun in this box. And the rail cars, they're modular, so you can choose different ones that has different effects. So I love this game, Rail Raiders Infinite.
Also known as Throw Mama from the Train.
Throw Chip from the train.
It is really fun. I'm not sure why, taking your loot to the engine of the train denotes victory.
Because you control the train.
Because I think you're still on board the train, so they know where you're going. But, but anyway, the game is cool, and I love chibis, I'm a sucker for them.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a great game in here, but there's a fun game in here, and I think that's what's important sometimes.
Yeah.
My number 44 is a game we haven't played in a long time, but we ought to. And I think it's one that we'll probably see some crossover with. It's 1960, The Making of a President, by GMT. It's the battle, the election between John Kennedy and Richard Nixon, and you play out this being historically being the first. The first election that really utilized media and advertisement to play a part in the decision. And I just like it, that the combination of trying to hold influence in different areas, building up your electoral college score, using that media to manipulate those influences, and then a deck of events coming through that you have to play to and to deal with. Really cool game, and for history buffs, political history buffs that like that kind of thing, it's a neat simulation to go through to see, could you do it differently, or do you want to follow the same strategies that the historical candidates took. Really, really neat game.
Just in case it hasn't been said, it is a two-player game.
Sorry. Two-player.
So, that's something neat to think about. But, they grab all these pieces of history, and it's very, they got them all in there. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. Big fan as well. That's going to be our number 44s.
So here at 43, I chose a new to the list game. It just slid right on in there, and that is Dead Man's Doubloons.
Oh, cool.
I love this game. Okay, so Dead Man's Doubloons. You are pirates, And there's two parts of the game. One is the pirate ships that are going around the island, and then the other part is you're the captain of the pirate ship, and you're on the island. You're trying to find the buried treasure before the other pirate captains do. It's a programming game. So you choose the cards that you want to play, and you play them face down in the order you're going to play them. And then you start flipping cards, and you start doing these actions. Now, each card has 3 different actions you can choose from. One for the island, one for the ship that's out, in the ocean, battling each other, circling the island. And it's just a ton of fun. It is take that. But you go in there, you know that it's take that. My intention is to blow your ship out of the water.
Oh, pirates.
Hello. So it's
Pirate's gonna pirate.
Pirate is gonna pirate. So Dead Man's Doubloons is an awesome game of just swashbuckling fun, and I would suggest it to anybody.
For me, I like more players in this game. Because you get the tension in. You want player interaction.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of them. And lesson to people potentially running Kickstarters: make your game pretty, because this one had things there's not a chance I'd be interested in, and I backed it anyways, and I'm glad I did, because it's a really good thing.
Oh, and another really good thing that's cool is that if you die, that's okay, because you come back as a ghost ship, and you have more havoc. Havoc.
Yes.
Okay, that's me.
Very nice. My number 43 is a newcomer to the list. It's one you guys introduced me to. Uwe Rosenberg's At the Gates of Luang.
No way.
Yep.
Okay, 2 things. It seemed as we played it that he hated it.
No, I love it.
But the second part of it is, my number 43 is At the Gates of Luang.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. So, go ahead, man.
I like the implementation of it. It's very Uwe. I mean, for fans of him, you guys will know what I'm talking
He's
about.
An objective.
Just moving along at the clip that it does, I can enjoy all the components of it. The artwork could have been better. Okay, I'll give that critique, but I thought it was pleasant. Just enjoyed playing it all the way around. I'm glad you guys introduced me to it.
I have no idea why, because I certainly wouldn't want to do it for a living, and God bless those who do. Man, I like farming games, and that's what you're doing here, right? You're getting your fields, you're planting them, and you're harvesting them to sell your goods at the Gates of Luang to the various customers that have specific needs, and you can trade and all these things. And you can also pick up these helpers along the way that allow you to do certain things, or in even some cases be a little interactive with other players. This, I think, was my introduction to Uwe Rosenberg, and I still love it. It's new to my list this year because we hadn't played it in a couple years.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got it back to the table, because it just reminded me of how much I enjoyed it. And it seemed as we were playing it, I didn't think that you enjoyed it.
No, I enjoyed it quite a bit. The completion of the tickets was really interesting to me. You have different customers that have different needs, and you have to fill them by,
or they get mad at you,
or they get mad at you.
Yeah, and then it's planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Wow. Double crossover at 43. Interesting.
And those will be our number 43. Here with number 42, it's another new one for me this year. Another game that Jolene and Lucas introduced me to. It's Kaito. Did we match up on that one too? No, we did not. So I like this game. You're taking a vacation in Japan, and you're just the game plays like you're taking a relaxing stroll.
Yes.
That's really the best way I can describe it. You are traveling this path, and you're stopping at different locations that allow you to paint a picture or get some food, or, go to the temple and leave a donation and things like that. And there's no stress in playing it. I mean, there's some instances where a player may block the location you wanted to go to, but a lot of those have an extra space that you can go to anyway, and it's just, you're just kind of ambling along, and it's just restful. Really cool game. The artwork is really pleasant to the theme. It's nice looking. Just all around a really cool package. Make it to the end, and then you score some victory points. Compare your victory points with the other players and see who won. Kaito is one of my favorites.
It is, and that journey, if there's something that, as the game progresses, if you really need X, you can jump ahead. Yeah. But the way that it works to, who's the first player, if you're at the back of the path, it's your turn. Mm-hmm. And then if you're still at the back of the path, you go again. Because everyone's waiting at the hotel. Yeah. And then the second leg of the journey begins, right? So it's very relaxing. You can go at your own pace. You can hit those spots that you need early, but then we're waiting on everyone else to make it down the path. It's very relaxing. I like it zen, very zen.
Yeah. Yeah, Will Wheaton sold this game to me because I saw it on Tabletop, and I bought it, but thinking that it wouldn't be a hit for us, right? Even though I wanted it to be, and I was wrong. Everybody loved it for all the reasons they said. Great game. My number 42 is another Simon Miniatures game with some little chibi guys in a dungeon called Arcadia Quest.
Oh, yeah.
What a neat little game, and it's another one of these games. I really enjoy this, that, our littlest can get in on and have a good time playing it. And basically, it is competitive because part of the way you can earn points is by taking out some of your opponents. Mm-hmm. But it's just a fun dungeon crawl, scramble to kill the monsters and complete quests. And for all those reasons, it's a great time. So Arcadia Quest at number 42.
You know what's really cool about that is at the end of the adventure when you like take that damage and you're doing, like if you're doing a campaign and you're going into the next thing, it's, you roll for, lingering injuries. Mm-hmm. They do have that piece of a real D&D campaign, but, more geared towards a younger player. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and the aesthetics are just great. Mm-hmm. I mean, say what you will about the chibis, I like them. And especially for this game, they fit perfectly because this is a dungeon crawl that's not. It doesn't take itself so seriously like some of the others.
Yeah.
And so having that just kind of reinforces that theme. Really cool game.
Well, in my number 42, it's already been mentioned, and it's Colbert and the Great Card Game. This is one, it's like I said, it's already been mentioned earlier today, so I don't really want to go into it more, but it's just a card games, and you're getting coal, and you're putting them on train cars with worker placement element, you're fulfilling contracts. The thing about this game that completely floors me, completely amazes me, is that you have all these actions, and this whole process from getting it out of the ground to delivering it at the end, and it's all in cards. Mm-hmm. And that just absolutely floors me. I love this game. It's tons of fun for me, and that is Colbert, the Great Card Game.
Very cool.
And for the last one on this video in this section of 10, number 41, mine's going to be a game that fell a little bit, and I think that's because of just lack of plays, because I really, really loved it, and that's Escape from 100 Million BC. When I first saw this one, it is not, the board is not pretty, and that's the first thing I look at with a game is the board, right? What does the board look like? And then, is it full of little wooden pieces in some way? That's the second thing I look for, and this one wasn't. It had standees, so it had a whole lot working against it when it started out. But, she really wanted it, so we picked it up, and, man, I had a great time playing this one. Your ship is crash-landed somewhere, back through time, whatever, causing rifts. It's Land of the Lost, the board game, really, and you're trying to gather the parts to put your ship back together and get out of there before you cause too many issues with the timeline, and you're going to encounter things out of time or people out of time, and you've got to put them back so that it doesn't get messed up. It's a really cool little package, and it's a little complex to get into, I thought, figure out how it works and everything. But once you get going, I really, really enjoyed it. But once it's over, you have a score and you reference, though you may have been successful, how badly you jacked up the timeline in that process there, which is a neat kind of in-game thing, Yes, we won, but, the world will never be the same type
What
deal.
was the cost?
So I really enjoy the package. It gives me that adventure feel that I like in other games, kind of like Eldritch Horror or whatever. So for those reasons, number 41, Escape from 100 Million BC.
Love it, love it, love it. More to come.
I know that I'm flawed in this, but your ship is plugging a volcano. Some people will disagree. They say, "Oh, you just crashed near the volcano." No. Your ship fell in the volcano, and that's funny to me because I've imagined the pressure cooker building up that's going to explode or whatever. This one isn't one of my favorites. No, but I will play it. I mean, it's not one that I would turn away. I would play it because you guys wanted to play it, and we would have a good time. But it's neat.
Okay, so for my number 41, it's Mission Red Planet. It, oldie but goodie. It's a classic for me. It's just a lot of fun. You have this hand of cards, and you're trying to get your astronauts up to Mars, and it's by action selection. You're playing these cards, and you can either build up your rocket and put astronauts on it. You can once it gets to a certain fullness, then you can send it off, or you can use a card to send off somebody else's or blow it up, and you get to Mars, and you're uncovering crystals and things like that, and you're moving from areas to areas. There's objectives in it. It's just got a little bit of everything for a fun, spacey game. So that's my number 41, Mission Red Planet. Second?
Yeah, second
edition.
Yeah, really, it is a cool game. I think it was the first game I played where you have the mechanic of I start with full hand of cards that have different actions. I play one, it's discarded until I play the card that allows me to take all my discards back into my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
refreshing your hand is an action unto itself. It's really neat.
Yeah, I agree. Cool game.
My 41 is what I thought would be our first matchup, but with Gates of Luang being the first, this is my first with Jolene. It's the Fox in the Forest.
Yeah.
So this little quick, and we've talked about it in this episode, just a little quick trick-taking game with a unique scoring method. So.
And beautiful art.
Yes, number 41 for me is Fox in the Forest.
That's going to wrap up our first episode of the 2019 50 favorite games. That was 50 through 41. Come back soon for 40 through 31 for Roll to Hit Gaming. I'm Lucas.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Chip. Find us on Twitter at Roll to Hit Gaming.